All right, let's jump into our mastery topic, which is the importance of delayed gratification. And let's see, this one is, where's this? Okay, this is from Tony Robbins' website here, so I'm excited for this one, the importance of delayed gratification. And we've talked a little bit about this over the last few weeks in our podcast, just touched on it briefly. But one of the things I'm seeing consistent, and I study success every day. Who can I learn from, whether it's someone like Tony Robbins or Alex Hormozi, or last night I bumped into one of Russell Brunson's right-hand guys whose son plays with my son's basketball team that I'm coaching. And so I'm always trying to learn from more successful people, and I see this common theme. I've seen it in your lifetime where successful people delay gratification temporarily with the vision that they're going to get something better. And so here's what it says. This is on Tony Robbins' website. He says, in today's day and age of one-click purchases and immediately accessible information, instant gratification is seen as the norm. The always-on world with smartphones and Wi-Fi reinforces that you have to get what you want right away, but instant gratification is not always best. In fact, impulse control is an essential life skill when it comes to achieving your goals. Delayed gratification is the skill that will get you there faster. The ability to hold out now for a better reward later is an essential life skill. Delayed gratification allows you to do things like forego large purchases to save for a vacation, skip dessert to lose weight, or take a job you don't love but that will actually help your career later on. Ty, like, how have you seen delayed gratification, benefit you or those you look up to, in your life?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I have a few things that come to mind, but they're all the ones that come to mind are like the silly little, like, I only eat a sugar sweet once a week. And
no, but that's real. Yeah, that's legit. And most people don't live like that.
And what's interesting is I found that you enjoy that treat so much better, or so much more, because that's all you're getting. You're only getting that once a week, so it's more enjoyable. But I would say the biggest thing, the most drastic decision that I've made in my life to this point, as far as delayed gratification comes down to my real estate portfolio. Because the very, very first home that I bought, I decided, you know what, I can afford at this point, granted this was 2014, so it's a very, very different housing market, but it was like I could afford a $400,000 to $450,000 home, which at that point was a very, very nice home. But you know what? I said, instead of doing that, I'm going to get a $200,000 home that could get a lot of work done. I'm going to live there for a couple years and then do it again, and then do it again, and then be able to take HELOCs against those homes and get down payments on investment properties. And still to this point, like the general public, if you saw how much money I made versus the kind of home that I live in, I think people would be very, very surprised, because it's still, at this point in my life, I am still delaying that gratification of this really, really nice home, because I have a bigger picture perspective. I know what I want for my family, for my life, for my retirement, so I'm okay to sacrifice and live in a lesser expensive home and a smaller home and not have the private office and this and that, because I have such a strong picture of what I do want 10 years from now.
I think that's just so important. And successful people are good at delaying gratification. And I think one of the biggest reasons why I didn't do that as well as I should have done in my younger years, or why a lot of people don't, is because they literally are worrying about what other people think. And at the end of the day, the big lesson you need to learn is your goals and dreams and what you want to accomplish should be so much bigger and beyond what anyone else thinks that you're going to do, that you shouldn't have to worry or even think about what they think. It doesn't matter. What matters is, what are your dreams and goals? What are you working towards? And if you can't learn to delay your gratification, then you will delay your success significantly. And it's like, if you'll delay your gratification, if you'll sacrifice time, then you'll set yourself up for the rest of your life. And everybody else who starts making more money and gets that more expensive home, like, think about all the people that bought an expensive home in the last year, and now they're up, probably owe more than maybe what the home is worth, depending on where they live, or it's about, it's not a great situation, or they're so anxious to get into it, and now they're taking higher interest rates instead of being patient for a better deal and getting maybe a duplex, right? Getting a home that you can rent out like you did with your first purchase. That's so important to delay that gratification. It's the same thing with business. You start and launch that business, and you got to go get all the toys and do all the things, and you got to, the biggest example I'll give is this. In a previous business that we were both a part of, the partners that I had, we've got to get this big expensive office, which was the stupidest thing ever. And so we move into this $30,000 a month office, and it's like, oh, wow, you can feel like you've arrived and you've got status in this expensive ass office that you're not even filling up half of it. And you're wasting, and all the profits you could be making that actually would make a difference in your business and life are now going into that nice office. And so every decision that we've tried to make with our business is how can we, be smart, set ourselves up for a better future, start off with a small office, right? We start out with a small office, and let's rent out half of this office because we're still not ready to use it. And when we are, then we can. And so it's those smart things, like someone who gets into a house and they rent out a room or they rent out the basement. It's those things that protect you and set you up for a much, much better future by doing that.
And you appreciate those things much more too. Like if you really, really decide, instead of doing this, I'm going to wait and get this house in 5 years or 10 years when I'm ready, you're going to appreciate that house so much more because of the grind that it took for you to get there. And like we always talk about with goals, it's not achieving the goal, it's the transformation that occurs between the day you set the goal and the day that you achieve it. You're literally, delayed gratification is showing yourself day in and day out, I can do hard things. I'm in control of my mind. I'm in control of my body, right? Not my mind controlling me, vice versa. So I think it's something that every day convincing yourself and teaching yourself that you can do hard things helps your life in so many different ways.
No question. So here's some of the things that Tony Robbins talked about in this article. He talked about the marshmallow experiment. We talked about this where these kids were put in a room and, hey, if you can wait 30 minutes or extra time, your one marshmallow becomes two. I think it was like the majority of them couldn't wait. And so they ate it and they didn't get a second one, right? And those that did, they watched them later on in their life. And the ones that delayed gratification made more money, had better families, had more success, traveled more, et cetera, because they were disciplined in delaying gratification. There's a way to delay gratification communication. You get that email from that angry client or that ridiculous person or that family or friend, and you must immediately respond. And you think of Twitter and social media and people just saying all these crazy things because they're reacting so quickly, or they're having road rage on the freeway, and they get off to go get in a fight and some horrible thing happens. So one thing I thought about is when you get that email or that thing, don't respond. Wait 24 hours. Wait till you can think clearly. Delay your gratification in dealing with it, and you're going to make a better decision, especially with your significant other. Because back in the day, you could have an argument with your spouse, but you didn't have a cell phone. You go to work, you wouldn't say anything, you come back, you'd be calmed down by that night. I'm sorry, honey, I was being an a-hole. Sorry about that, right? But nowadays, we text immediately, get back to them, and all of a sudden it gets even worse. And then he talks about with your business, I don't want to sacrifice my weekends. I've got to stream more Netflix, or I've got to do this, or I've got to do that, when you should be reading that extra book, listening to that extra podcast, doing that extra course, doing that extra reach out, that one more call, right? Health, perfect example. Instead of letting yourself eat garbage every day, hey, I'm going to give myself one cheat meal a week, and that's what I'm going to do, and then I can eat stuff, and then I get it. And then what happens when you do that? You actually don't feel like eating that stuff anymore because you feel sick, because your body's like, no, you don't eat that. What are you doing?
Yeah.
And then you work out more, and then after you start working out regularly, you're like, I actually don't want to eat that crap now because now I need something healthy after I just worked out. And so it's amazing how that just builds on itself and creates momentum.
Exactly. It's that I worked way too hard for this. Why would I sacrifice here? And the key word, like you talked about at the very beginning, is momentum. It's just a matter of getting that thing started. It's like John was telling me in Sunday school, they gave an analogy of like a massive train, cargo train, if you put this teeny little 1" by 1" steel block and you put it on the track, not like you actually solder it in there, right up against the wheel, that massive train can't start. Like it cannot get the force to push that over. But a train that's going full force can absolutely plow through that like it's nothing and significantly more weight. So it's this interesting momentum concept and how it's taking that first initial step and removing those first initial roadblocks so that you can get started, and then you're unstoppable.
Absolutely. Great example. Finances, examples, delay big purchases, save to invest, not just to save. And a lot of people will save and then they'll blow that money. But if you can save to invest, if you can delay a big purchase, I just think it's such a great example. Instead of buying the big expensive home that you can actually, you can legit qualify for, but you don't. You invest that money into rental properties, into cash flow that makes you money, or you start a business and you invest in a business that's going to make you more money, and you delay that gratification, and that's the difference between people that become millionaires and those that don't.
Yeah, figuring out what works for you with that is really important. Like for me, saving money, I like to invest every dollar that I have. So I've had to work on the saving piece of it. And gamifying it was a huge part of me saving money. And myfigures.com was a huge part of that because I was able to set a financial goal and see on that roadmap how I was doing to achieve that goal. So finding a way to gamify the savings, like I want this much by this point, and if I do, I get this reward. And because me and Marie have separate finances.
That's important.
Like,
That's important. That's really good.
Gamifying it is huge. But like I said, myfigures.com, when we were talking about the opposites attract, like we do, it's a little unorthodox. We've almost 10 years married. We have completely separate finances. Like we do not share a single bank account, but having my figures to have that accountability and see, oh, how are you doing? How are you doing? Gamifying it, holding each other accountable. That's a big part of delayed gratification, is that accountability.
Yeah, no question about it. And the awesome thing about it is you take more action towards that. You start to see more success. The momentum builds. And that's how you create. But the thing that really just caught my attention that you said is, and we talked about this when we did our business plan, and hundreds of people have now downloaded that free business plan template in our business plan training. But having emotional drivers, if it's just the numbers and it's just, I want to make more money, I want to have more financial freedom, at the end of the day, that won't quite get you excited. As you make these sacrifices, there has to be some rewards, right? And so, as I, make that investment and now I get new cash flow rent, I'm going to take some of that money and I'm going to get that new set of golf clubs, or my wife and I are going to go on that awesome vacation. Like after you sacrifice, then there is some sort of reward, an emotional driver that makes you take that action. Because if you also don't have anything, then all of a sudden, you're a 75-year-old miser and you have some money in the bank, but great, you've lived a terrible life. So you also don't want to go too far that direction. And so if you have some emotional drivers, that's super important.
Amen.
Yeah.